Now it is with great pride that I get to introduce our honored guest and 2026 commencement speaker, Canon class of 2009 graduate Jess Ekstrom. Jess traveled back home to Canon from Raleigh, where she lives with her husband Jake and their two children, Ellie and Jack. Jess isn't visiting alone. With her today are her mother, Lori, her father, Rich, and her friend and fellow member of the class of 2009, Marina Provenzano. Where are you all here? Wave to us. Where are you? Welcome back. Nice to see you all here today. There's something uniquely meaningful about welcoming an alumna back to the stage to address our graduates. Jess once sat where the seniors are seated now. She walked these halls, built friendships here, discovered her voice here, and began developing a sense of purpose that has shaped her life and work. After graduating from Canon, Jess attended North Carolina State University, where she founded her first company, Headbands of Hope. You're going to hear more about that from her in a minute, so I won't steal her thunder. Since then, she has become a best-selling author, including her most recent book, Making It Without Losing It, a nationally recognized speaker, a founder of Mic Drop Workshop, helping women and girls develop confidence in public speaking skills, and her work has been featured on Today, Good Morning America, Forbes, and many other national platforms. And in 2021, Canon recognized Jess with our very own Distinguished Alumni Award. What I appreciate most about Jess is not simply the list of accomplishments, which are impressive. It's the way she approaches life with authenticity, optimism, and heart. She represents the very best of what we hope for our students, people who pursue meaningful work, care deeply about others, and use their gifts to make a difference. Class of 2026, as you prepare to leave Canon and begin your next chapter, I can think of no better person to speak to you about embracing opportunity, purpose, and possibility. Would you all please join me in welcoming Jess to the stage?
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Mike. I remember when I first stepped foot on this campus. It was 8th grade, 2004. Yes, students, I was born in the late 1900s. And yes, it was before you had a football team. But I was here on tour as a prospective student. My sister, Heather, had started at Canon for high school. My parents wanted to see if it was going to be the right fit for me. And I'm going to be honest, I don't remember much about the tour. I didn't ask questions I probably should have asked, like how to study or if the cafeteria pizza was any good. But there was one moment that I do remember. After the tour, I was by myself waiting for my parents to come pick me up outside of those steps right there, sitting on those very steps. I heard the door open behind me, and Mr. Dunn walked outside. I expected him to be headed somewhere important, like a teacher meeting about why students never read the syllabus. So I just turned my head back down the road, waiting for my parents to drive up. But then out of my peripherals, I saw him sit beside me. He didn't drill me with questions about my 10-year plan or where I saw myself in the global economy. He just let me talk. I told him about my hobbies, what music I liked, my passion for Hillary Duff. And he just nodded, gave me his attention, and listened. And when my parents pulled up, he said, "I hope to see you here soon." And he did. I attended Canon for high school, and my time here was filled with typical and also not so typical experiences. Typical meaning always stressed about my future, worried about fitting in, what my life would look like. But not so typical teachers who went above and beyond, a school where I never felt like a number, faculty who saw us as people first and not just a test grade. After I graduated, I went to NC State. Call it optimism or wishful thinking, but I just had this quality over quantity mindset. If I just tried enough things, if I just put myself out there enough, threw enough darts, then I would eventually hit a bullseye. And I wasn't wrong. The first dart I threw was for an internship in Disney World my freshman year. There was a flyer for the Disney college program in my dorm room, and I thought, I like happy people, I like roller coasters, I like $12 popcorn, let's try it. I was a photographer there, and my favorite thing that I got to do was I got to photograph kids that were there on their wish through the Make-A-Wish Foundation. So the next dart I threw was interning for Make-A-Wish. And it was there that I discovered so many kids that would lose their hair going through chemotherapy, would wear wigs or hats, but wanted to wear headbands. And it was a great way for them to feel like a kid again. So my next dart I threw was for a company I started my junior year called Headbands of Hope. And that company went on to land in Kohl's, Ulta, do headbands for the NBA, the WNBA, and more importantly, donate millions and millions of headbands to every hospital in America in 22 countries. But along the way, I learned a few things that I would like to share with the class of 2026. First, do not be afraid to start over. You are about to enter the greatest do-over period of your life. I thank my lucky stars that I started both my companies in my 20s, back when I didn't know how good it felt to have health insurance. Here's the thing, the decisions you're making right now feel so permanent. What school, what major, what your life is gonna look like, but what feels like ink is really only chalk. You have permission to start over at any moment, in any direction, and for any reason. After 10 years of building my first business, it got acquired. And I thought that was supposed to feel like winning, just the pinnacle of success that every entrepreneur dreams about. But instead, I felt like I sold my company and my identity right along with it. I told myself that was it. That was the best thing that I'll ever do. But I was wrong. What looks like an ending is almost always just a beginning in disguise. You just can't see it yet because you're standing too close to the door that just closed. Which brings me to my next tip. Gather the data. And I'm sure all my former math teachers are really surprised that I just said that. Because no matter what you're studying or where you're headed, you are now a scientist in your own life. Everything you try is an experiment. Try an internship in an industry you realize that you just don't like, that is data. Go on a date with someone who only talks about cold plunges for 2 hours, that's data. Every experience you have is now information about the world, about people, and most importantly, about you. Now, I'm going to say something that is probably the opposite of what a commencement speaker should say, but bear with me. Please don't be certain about who you want to be. When I was sitting right where you are, I was convinced I was going to be a journalist. Specifically, I wanted to be Carrie Bradshaw, minus the cigarettes and the 6-inch heels, because I wanted my lungs and my ankles to survive into my 30s. But if I had stayed that certain about who I was supposed to become, I would have missed everything that made me who I actually am. Here's what I know. There are endless winning scenarios for you, and most of them haven't been invented yet. There's a hobby you'll discover in 5 years that becomes your whole personality. There's a friend you'll meet in 2 years that changes everything. There's a condiment you'll try in 6 years that goes on every sandwich you'll eat for the rest of your life. Hold your future with open palms instead of a clenched fist. Have goals, but leave room for surprises. You might have a wildly successful career in a job that doesn't even exist yet, because I know this firsthand. I had absolutely no idea that keynote speaking was a job. I stumbled into it after my first company, and then I found out that less than 30% of paid speaking gigs are going to women. So I started Mic Drop Workshop, and we've helped thousands of women get paid to speak and speak confidently at work. But that career, I couldn't have planned it. I didn't even know paying people to talk was a thing. If I had stayed so set on becoming Carrie Bradshaw, I never would have become Jess Ekstrom. And it turns out becoming yourself is way more interesting than becoming your plan. Here's something that might sound like a bummer, but is actually going to be really freeing. You will always have problems. I used to believe that there was some magic milestone out there, or some money number, some blue check mark, some version of arrived that would finally launch me into a career with no problems. I genuinely thought that once my kids could walk, my problems would be solved. I don't have to carry them anywhere. I know. New problem. They can walk now, and in different directions. But here's what I learned. Don't make a change because you think it's going to solve all your problems. It won't, and you're going to be disappointed. Instead, make a change that solves old problems and gives you new problems that you're excited to solve. When I sold my first company, I thought I'd finally solved the always-on founder problem. But new problem. I had absolutely no idea who I was without it. But that was a problem I was excited to solve. The sooner you realize that problems are a part of the process, the sooner you stop waiting for them to go away and start using them as proof that you're in the game. Problems aren't a sign that something is wrong with your life. They are a sign that your life is very much alive. I have one more tip, and if you don't remember anything I say today, remember this. Everything will be fine as long as you are a decent person. Hold the door, take your AirPods out and genuinely talk to a stranger. Remember people's birthdays. Be genuinely curious about how someone else is doing. Play peekaboo with the baby behind you in line at the grocery store. Pour someone else's water before pouring your own. AI might make a lot of your future and things feel uncertain. So let me give you some certainty. Being a good human always wins. You would be amazed about how many promotions, partnerships, opportunities that happen simply because someone said, oh, that person, they're good people. And let's talk about who made you a good person. Your parents. As a mom now to a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, I want to personally apologize to my own parents for every door that I slammed between the years of 2005 and 2009, and for pretending I didn't see the gas tank on empty. I'm sorry. I didn't know how hard this was. Your parents put it all on the line for you, and I'm sure they would do it again without hesitation. The dinners you never had to think about, the carpool to every practice and every game, the laundry that somehow kept reappearing in your drawers clean and folded like magic, the lectures you just rolled your eyes at that I'm only now realizing were completely right. You're right, Mom, nothing good happens after 10 p.m. I want you to look at them right now, and on 3, we're all going to say thank you. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. I had the honor of coming back to Cannon in 2021 to speak to students about my career, give some advice. And when I was done, I walked outside, sat on those upper school steps you see right there, and waited for my Uber to the airport. And guess who came outside and sat with me almost 17 years after my very first tour of this school, sitting on those very steps? Mr. Dunn. So the last thing I'm going to ask you is to imagine you're sitting on those steps 10 years from now. What do you want to say you did? Cannon School class of 2026, I hope you come back with stories and scars. I hope you come back with a lot of darts thrown. I hope you come back with data, with new problems you're excited to solve, with a life that surprised you in all the ways you never could have planned. But most importantly, I hope you come back knowing that every time you started over, you weren't behind. You were just beginning. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Jess, for those words and for coming home to Cannon to share your wisdom with this class. Please join me in giving her one more round of applause.